Right, so looks
Teams ready?
yeah, looks like we're ready, so we're gonna get into this draft.
All right. This is gonna be freelance or fun. Sorry, let's just get right into that. Is gonna be doing the first map pick. I'm interested here. Here going into this choice. Do you pick Flyway against Trash? Do you think that's something you should even try and do, or just because in the past that's the map pick for Trash every single time?
I think that you more pick the map based on your composition at this point. I don't think you pick it to counter Trash. I think you really need to be playing a game at 100%. Trash knows all the maps. I don't think they're going to be disadvantaged at any particular map.
Yeah.
So pick the one that you're strongest at, and have the characters you want to play be good at.
Yeah, going in, we know what Trash is gonna lean towards. We know we'll want the Finn, the of course Lockwood, Gray, Rask, all that. Don't know much about what Fun is gonna be looking to draft, so I'm really interested to see who they prioritize. We saw something with Voltaic yesterday where Lockwood and they let say Rask through and first pick Gray instead, just because they weren't as didn't seem to be as worried about Rask as everybody else is.
And we've been seeing that a lot. Teams that prioritize, let's say, Nyx, that long range, pretty safe damage dealer, will either pick or ban Lockwood, and then whichever one they didn't ban, they'll pick the other one. And if you can get Lockwood and Gray picked or banned for your team, then stealth champions like Pup, like Nyx, are very powerful on your team because those are two of the best revealers in the
Yeah.
game.
So Fun and Nepti, the captain of Fun, picking this map. Looks like there's a bit of discussion going on. We saw yesterday. I think Cloudspire it might not be the best choice. We saw it in some matches yesterday. Those spawns are still just so wonky on Cloudspire. People being able to spawn just immediately
Yeah.
spawn in and deal big damage.
It's the spawns are a little wonky.
Yeah.
And on any map, the longer range characters, you've got those Zukis, you've got those Nyxes, you've got people that have a little AoE or a little extra range mod can get hits on their first spawn. But it's especially, you're right, it's especially prevalent on Cloudspire. But I love Cloudspire so much because it forces teams to fight. You can't run away those last two turns. You can't cautiously approach it. You are close to the enemy, and you're going to have to make some moves at some point.
That's true. I know I don't want to see it. I'm sure viewers don't want to see it. The hide and seek starts that take 6 or 7 turns for there to finally be any meaningful conflict. That's just not entertaining.
I mean, if it's done for tactics, you want the best match possible. Obviously, you want these teams played at the highest level. So if they're doing it as a part of a legitimate tactic, great. But if they're doing it as a, we're scared to make the first move, well, that's thrown out the window on these smaller maps.
Yeah, it's true. Depends on how aggressive you want to be. Something we've seen in Atlas Reactors, a lot of teams prefer to not be the first aggressor. The first frontliner to dive in is going to be the one that gets focused down. And if you don't back that frontliner up, if you're the attackers and you don't move yourselves in to support that frontliner, it could spell a quick death, even if they have a really high health pool, like, a Rask or Titus or someone, any of them.
And that is one of the reasons why the freelancers that are favored as frontliners are favored right now, is that they're the ones that can go in and take the focus. Rask has great healing, loves to get a few light hits in early so that he can gain energy. Asana loves to reflect the damage. Titus has these big healing mods. Whereas the other ones can't really get in, and Rampart can protect one side, but not if he's surrounded, then he's kind of at a loss. Garrison can't protect himself really at all without any mods. So those guys are a little less favored in terms of this sit back and blow up the first person that comes in meta. Now, if you get a little bit more aggressive starts from even the rear freelancers, then maybe those other guys can come into play a little bit more as they can get more one-on-ones instead of a 4-on-1.
Yeah, and I know coming just from watching Trash in previous matches, they will pretty much only run Rask or Asana as their front line. If they don't get one of those two, they'll do triple firepower instead. That's how much
isn't a bad choice.
Yeah, that's how much they valued those two frontliners over the rest. Maybe they've run Titus once. I think that was more just to, make me happy as a joke. But they definitely prefer Rask or Asana or triple firepower.
Yep. So bear with us just a moment, people. They're apparently having some map troubles. We're getting them fixed as best we can. It'll take a few minutes to go through here.
Yeah. So what's the character you want to see played the most that you thought might have been a bit underrated last season?
Well, my answer has been and is going to be for a while. I think Quark can, if he gets both latches up and has excellent positioning, uses adrenaline at the right time or his dash at the right time, can just put out the most healing and the most damage out of any support. The issue is that the other supports are safer. When they do one thing, they do it well. Quark has to be churning on both cylinders and has to be just superior placement. He can't be sitting in the back just healing. He has to be in between his team and the opposing team, generally where you don't want to support. But we have seen him used somewhat. I'm hoping that teams figure him out. I don't know about you. Besides Titus, let's put that qualification on it. Besides Titus, who would you like to see more of?
Besides Titus? Oh, well. I gotta think.
Gotta
really
make you
hard.
think here.
I think Rampart. I think he's considered one of the lower tiers, but as we saw in the show match between Trash and Final Boss, where Trash did take the victories, but they put on a very strong showing for making Rampart work. Combining with a Gremo to constantly be pulling him through mines and protecting his team. So I think in the right hands, Rampart could really shine, and I know people might not be as prepared to face him as they are the other firepowers in the competitive setting.
Yeah, I definitely think there is a place for him. I think you've got a point there. He's got long range displacement effect. He's got a lot of slows. He can root. He's got everything that's powerful right now in the league. He's got massive damage prevention. He's got those. It's just he's a little unwieldy to use with the shield and with no dash. But you're absolutely right. They could get it done. Map select is O. Right
I think they're going to be figuring out Elter. It looks like Trash went with their, unless we're resetting. I don't know if we're resetting. I don't know what's happening. But it looks like Trash did go with that standard Helio ban. They still don't want to deal with him. They still consider him just too variable to even bother going through with.
Yeah, that's something they mentioned in their interview last time, is that if his combo hits, he's amazing. And if his combo doesn't hit, then he's somewhat lackluster, really just a couple shields here and there. So they don't want to roll the dice and get the did we guess where Pup was correctly while stealth and delivering the bomb.
Yeah.
They'd rather have a solid skill matchup than try and put those guessing games in there. Rask, obviously, a very strong pick from any side and constantly either banned or picked in this one. And it looks like they'll have to, with Helio gone, though, he's not as an effective delivery method, so maybe you leave him to be picked. I don't know, still strong.
Fun banging them out. This leaves Trash with the selection, unless we're doing a reset. Still waiting on that.
Yeah, well, we may go for just picking a different way soon. These teams are going to finish off this pick ban until we get official word, and then we'll figure out whether to restart or not. So Lockwood is coming in as the first pick. No surprises there. Put up strong showings in a lot of matches yesterday. Able to put damage in from really anywhere. Even bad positions can bounce that shot in, and with extra damage on the bounce can put in a lot of damage from nowhere.
Okay, I think we're going to be doing a reset on this picking and banning.
Yeah, the teams make a valid point here, or have a valid cause to reset, because the map select really affects the champions, especially people like Blackburn, people like Celeste, who can throw over walls or pick up power-ups with straight line sight. They're really strong in certain areas of the map where you throw stuff over walls, where you have certain lines of sights, and they're a lot weaker in other ones where, let's say, Blackburn can't dash to walls easily.
Yeah.
So definitely a big part of the pick.
It's like, I think we're refreshing?
They're going to refresh the page, and I believe they're going to pick the map in chat before hitting ready. Is how this is going to go.
All right, so
if I am getting these notes correctly.
going to get the map choice from Fun out in the chat. we'll make sure to relay it to everyone here. As Restart was mentioning, yeah, map picks really important. Characters like Blackburn and Titus and Rampart even might not be the best picks on a flyway, but on the smaller maps, those guys have the chance to shine when it's, less space for people to run away, or gives them more room to catch up in the case of, say, Rampart and Titus.
Absolutely. So it'll be curious though, because these teams might just go with the same picks anyways. I mean, that was a very strong pick ban on any map really. Helio, Rask, Lockwood, those are champions that are going to perform on any map, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go exactly as it was. So the map is going to be Flyway Freighter, that big, wide open map. You can expect to see a lot of long range champions. The shorter range champions do good in what I believe have been affectionately dubbing the love tunnel there, that corridor with the stealth in it over on one side. So teams can either gravitate towards that or push away if they'd rather prefer the long range engagement.
Yeah.
It looks like banned slightly different this time. Trash has banned Rast. Fun has banned Lockwood straight out of the gate.
This also might be a mistake. Having some website difficulties. Trash saying they didn't ban Rask, and that seems likely because I don't think they would.
Yeah, last time I think it was Fun who had banned Rask, so they would probably leave it to them. They wanted to ban Helio last time, and they've stated that's one of their preferred bans.
It's pretty much their number one preferred ban. I think they do like to do that. Force the other team into that role of, do you want us to have Lockwood or do you want us to have Rask? Your choice, sort of situation.
Yeah, that's how do you make that choice, really? Do you want us to have Lockwood or Rask? Those are two champions that you never want the opposing team to have, ever. Yeah.
Both a pain to deal with in completely different ways. Lockwood, just that he can deal such consistent damage and be so hard to lock down. He's a slippery scoundrel. And Rask just doesn't like to die.
Now, there was a point made yesterday that that Lockwood may get a little bit of a tone down, not from anything in game, but as more freelancers are released with traps, so that his dash is not as safe as it is. Currently, there's only a couple freelancers with really effective anti-Lockwood traps, Lockwood being one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of which is Lockwood. And in this situation where there is the picking banning, you can't fight Lockwood with Lockwood. You can't fight fire with fire. So that leaves you with
as more champions are released that have traps that cover multiple directions, Lockwood isn't as safe of a pick anymore because his escape would take you right through them. Doesn't deal any damage. It doesn't go over traps. So that could be one thing to look forward to as the game and the league progresses. But anyways, these teams, because they've been through it so many times, have their pick bans out already. Just to go over it, Trash had Helio banned. Freelancer, United Nation, that fun team, they had Rask banned immediately afterwards. So exactly what we saw the first time. Then we had Lockwood being picked up first. Not sure of the exact order, but the other team has Gray Zuki, Quark, and they actually did pick up that big beefy frontliner. Yeah.
A risky choice.
Came true.
I mean, but it's on Flyway, which I mentioned might not be the best place to, bring Rampart out to play. So looking at Trash, a traditional sort of pick for them and a very strong lineup. This is all comfort picks. Lockwood, Asana, Celeste, Finn. We've seen them use this to very great effect. This is what they beat Final Boss with, in fact. So looking up against Freelancer United, they have Gray, who's a strong pick, and then Zuki, Quark, and Rampart, who are a bit more sink or swim sort of. Like, we don't always see them shine, but we have seen it in the past.
Well, I'm guessing with a Zuki on the team, this might be actually a gone fishing Rampart. If you can put somebody in the center of a Zuki bomb, then it basically forces the Catalyst to dash almost 100%. They can focus on offense because their support can go ahead and escape himself with the dash, so they can focus on trying to get these combos out. They've got several movement effects. They've actually got a nice mix of effects of defense, of offense. Well, it's not a traditional team. They have all the components in there to make it work. There's nothing really missing from their team.
Yeah, it's going to really come down to how can these individual players, how will, looks like it's going to be Kochi on the Rampart play that, how will Inepti play his core? Can they really make these guys sing and show Trash that just because they didn't get what they consider to be high-tier picks, they can still put up the fight?
Yeah, you have to, if you watched any of the last season, if you watched the exhibition match versus Tryon, you have to know these are the picks Trash wanted. I mean, they picked him twice in a row versus the devs, and they said we didn't expect it to go the same, but if they're not going to stop us from picking it, we're going to pick the same stuff and be successful every time. So apparently Fun has a plan to deal with it, and we're going to find out what it is in just a few moments.
Heading to that loading screen, there's that. Ooh, the coordination actually coming out fun with the matching banners and icons, and look how messy Trash is. I'm disappointed, I gotta say. I mean, yeah, tournament champion, whatever, but besides that...
I think they can afford some individually now. Now that they've built their brand as Trash, they can go in and show their personalities. They gotta get that superstar mindset.
And Wolol's still rocking that beta icon. That he's the only one that will ever earn that icon, so he must like
That's a
showing
neat
off.
thing, yeah. All right, so we're getting into game one here. Get ready to go. We do have blue team is Fun, red team is Team Trash, and they're getting ready to lock in these first movements. We probably won't see engagement in the center right away, so let's see what sides they decide to go to.
Yeah, I'm going to see a pretty, looks like likely to be standard starts here, with Fun staying very grouped up top towards the love tunnel, with Trash a little bit more spread out, and of course sending... As they tend to do, they send one of their characters off to do a bit of scouting, and that's going to be Wolo on the Celeste, who obviously going to be picking up these buffs. If you don't know, Celeste can pick up buffs with just her basic ability, and Fun very smartly not even bothering to look even a little bit towards that. They know they're not getting it.
Yeah, unless you dash over it, which they do not have a frontliner with a dash, then in the blast phase, Celeste will pick it up. Here comes a big trap from Avaki. That's going to cut off a large section of the map. Hopefully nobody was charging in versus that. The slow big one coming in, that's going to hit Avaki and Kranor to make them go not where they want and maybe end up out in the open. Otherwise, just expecting some dashes in. They're going to do some defensive moves as they send the drone out to scout, and a great scout hits two members of the opposing team as Wololol picks up that buff, and they get ready for the next turn.
I just noticed the... three members of Trash rocking that Razor Chroma style as well. Poor old Wolo just with a boring old not color changing skin. But as we saw, yeah, Avaki caught out not in cover because of that slow big one, and Kranor not close enough to take advantage of this bubble like they must have planned. And now it looks like Trash is definitely being the aggressors here, with Fun playing it very safe, letting these champions come into them.
Sefield gives a heal from the back just to get some energy, make sure they don't take too much in return. It looks like Inepti's just going to heal up and overcharge. You're going to build that energy for an early ultimate as Avaki tries to bounce in, but there's a big wall in the way. A nice shot from Dizzy hits Kranor full on in the face, though the bubble blocks most of it. Avaki takes the shot from the big one. As we saw, Legion isn't going to hit because Kranor did not dash. So some vision blocking coming out. Very smart from Wololol. Even if you can't hit, make it so the enemy team can't see where you are. Kranor's hit being blocked by the shield, so no root there. So now it's going to come down to good old-fashioned damage.
Yeah, I know. As we saw, there was hits landed, but nobody actually has lost any health. Sefiel doing that overheal before the big one landed kept everyone at full health on top of the bubble. And now with Kochi's shield down, this is Trash's opportunity. The big defense from Rampart has been taken out, so they can now start charging in and doing that damage. We see Kranor doing his frontline role and just right up in the enemy team's face. And look how grouped up they are. That's really dangerous against Celeste and Lockwood, who both have big AoE potential.
Yeah, they might be safe for another turn because they're not in range yet, but man, being grouped up like this is not advantageous in Atlas Reactor. Kranor dashes through to the back, getting hits on both Kochi and Inepti. Dizzy's going to try and predict the dash, but wisely Kranor went way behind, so even avoids the spin from Rampart. And they are going all in trying to predict this dash from multiple angles, but cannot get a hit on Kranor. A double hit with might off from Wololol gets 48 damage from the center of the map onto Kochi.
Every time I see Celeste hit that double hit, might it or not, it just makes me like flinch back. It's so much damage. And now look at Kranor just able to hit everybody he wants, just completely in the center of the enemy team, and this is really not what you want. Being this grouped up is a big problem. You know, Avaki, not quite close enough to have an impact now, but Wolol, Safil, and Craner aren't, you know, shabby in the damage department.
Yeah. Almost every character has some form of area of effect damage, and when you can hit all 4 people with it, it's always going to be better than just a single basic attack. So this is going to be a crazy turn as that shield comes out for Cranor, expecting some damage. Is going to reflect a lot as a Nepti latches onto him. Cluster rockets come out from Dizzy, smartly avoiding the shield, and will do damage next turn. Legion's going to throw out this drone, which is going to come in, but since it was an active ability this turn, it will reflect the damage. Wolo comes in for 38 again. These double hits are just devastating. Kochi's going to get a pull-in on Wololol to push them out of position, but the massive damage in favor of Team Trash.
You mentioned it briefly. Very smart reason. Sticky bombs coming out from Dizzy. He assumed Craner was going to use that shield, so now just avoiding any retribution damage and just getting around that shield. You know, as you mentioned, Legionnaire getting so low with getting closed in on without even knowing it. Avaki completely out of vision. He might go down here if they're not careful, if he doesn't realize how close the fire powers of Trash really are.
They also have no vision on Lockwood, so be careful for this one and watch some damage coming in from nowhere as Inepti charges up his overcharge while Cranor gets the nice shield and bubble. Again, just shields and shields that do damage in the middle of the enemy team. Wololo dashes out since they were out of position. Legion flashes wisely, expecting the damage to come in. Cranor gets the bomb going off, but gets a double slow and a root off on the enemy team. Movement going vastly in their favor. Kochi's going to get just a little bit of damage on Cranor. Dizzy with a big 40 thanks to that might. This looks like this is Mighty Cork. Yeah, and Avaki missing thanks to that flash.
That pocket Might Cork on Zuki really working out for her. Already it's only turn 7 and Zuki's sitting at that 143. Though Craner does have more. In return, Craner's starting to look low. He's been taking a lot of hits. Pretty much all the damage Trash has taken has been on his shoulders, and that's starting to add up. We saw an early flash out of Legion, so if Trash can find that gray and start to focus them down, they can really get an advantage out of it with one of their 2 escapes off the table.
And Mighty Cork continuing to do his job as he overcharges. Looks like shields coming out from all of their team. These Turtle Techs will try and protect them for another turn. Cranor is the one who actually uses his catalyst to flash out this time. And a spray missing as there is no chase from there. Inepti is going to reveal exactly where Cranor went to, so they'll have vision on it, but just trying to avoid damage this turn. A familiar sight with the dash last time as they all missed. A nice bounce from Avaki, bringing Legion super low and directly next to Cranor.
We actually saw Wolol using his catalyst there as well. Neither of them wanted to sit there for the damage. Craner's still low, still sitting on dash, and now the Asana ultimate, so he can reposition himself almost freely, and Wolol in a nice spot to start really dealing. Look, they gotta get spread out. Fun cannot afford to stay this grouped up now that Avaki has really entered the fray with that spray and pray available, or just Wolol's smoke bombs.
Well, that's the clutch of it with Rampart. Do you group up to stay behind the shield, or do you spread out? But it looks like they're taking a lot of damage from this as they wall off Dizzy next to Avaki, but Avaki will give cover bonus if he does shoot here. Looks like Dizzy's going to go ahead and put out a big one, hopefully in the path of Wololol and Safil as Cranor dashes out while still doing damage. There's a Catalyst heal coming out from Legion. Safil does a nice double hit on both Kochi and Inepti. The wall will block it from Dizzy. Inepti is still tethered to Cranor, so still doing massive damage. A spray from Avaki not going to hit anything because of Kochi's shield. And there goes the smoke bombs to take down the Gray in the corner.
Gray sitting at 21 health from that second win. Wolol doing 22, just enough to take them down. A good shield there from Kochi to block the spray and pray damage, and Dizzy not actually taking any because he just had this pocket cork attached to him for the whole match. You know, Safil still yet to take damage, and Wolol only taken 24 before he was healed up, and successfully disengaged from his kind of awkward footing as the ults start to come up from many members in the match.
Cranor using that ult, going to try and get to a spot where he's not going to get hit, still going to do a little damage and some shielding. Turtle Tech coming out from Wololol just to shield that little bit of edge damage as Quark now gets his healing off. That gigantic ultimate will save him, hopefully, from any damage this turn. Cranor's going to land next to Dizzy doing a little damage, but Mighty Quark has been healing it all off. Kochi's going to add just a little bit more to Wololol to validate that shield. Dizzy with a nice big double hit. 20 damage on each. No might this turn because of the ultimate coming out from Cork. Wololo will get might because they did grab it. And here comes an ultimate from Safil. Will this punish the big grouping up that's going on as they pull Inepti and Dizzy and Koji backwards? And Inepti actually went through the trap as well.
That Cork's the target you really got to focus on. As we've seen, they've been hitting Dizzy, but it really doesn't add up just because of the pocket Cork healing. Now looking at Dizzy coming in with that ult available, has the through walls mod, so a bit controversial there because it does go through walls, but it's a significant reduction in damage. Legion respawning probably close enough to start influencing this fight right away, and you got to think Fun's looking at that Craner, knows his dash is down, knows his flash is down. That's a big target.
Yeah, I can't imagine they want him to live through this, but will they have the damage available as Turtle Tech, the shield, and healing comes out, boosting their health to just insane levels right now. Dizzy is going to get the 4-man ultimate. I'm sure Trash was expecting it, but no dash is coming out or available. Inepti's going to dash away from Dizzy since Dizzy's kind of at full health right now. Doesn't really need it except for the might, which, as you mentioned, it's a waste to use the healing just for the might most times.
I'd run if I were you.
And here comes this big ultimate. Now, it is going to do a little bit reduced damage than it normally would. Only 35 to each champion. But still, just a lot of damage. Avaki returning just a bit with his bounce shot. 38 damage onto Dizzy, making some stick now that he doesn't have Quark.
I want to say, Wolo with such excellent buff control. The only buff that Trash has not picked up in Wolo is that one health buff near Fun's spawn. Besides that, they've all been going the way of Team Trash, making sure they have control of the tempo of this match. And that's stayed true so far, with still Fun just forced into this corner, forced to react to Trash's actions instead of going on the offensive.
And while Fun's been looking pretty good and has some good combos here, it is a 1-0 lead for Trash, and Trash is now getting out with plenty of health. I'm sure Craner is going to go heal up and come back in, and the rest of his team's just going to dodge as shots come in, bouncing on Legion. Wololol again clearing the map of power-ups. A nice taunted pull. Who is this going to target? They thought they had Craner, but Craner had actually rounded the corner. So no pull for this time, and it looks like the teams will just... Actually, Avaki going into the center, but does have ultimate.
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely prepping for it, with Wolo also sitting on ult. That's big burst damage, and Inepti just used that dash, only has his catalyst available, and this is where Avaki wants to be with that ultimate. Wolo still staying real safe, and giving the chance for Craner to sort of dip out, refill on health, so he can come back in healthy and ready to hurt.
Bobo going for Avaki just in case they manage to predict where he goes, and or if he lands next to somebody, a little extra damage. Legion's going to throw it, does weak on both Safil, and really the big target there was Avaki since this is his time to shine. Going through the center, but Quark does use that catalyst to get out of the way, so just some damage on Legion and Kochi. Wololo's going to follow up, bringing Legion low yet again, and blocking a lot of vision. That'll give Wololo plenty of space to move around in. Dizzy's going to throw those cluster bombs just to try and cover a wide area, only getting one person that supports Safil.
Yeah, Safil now is looking the most out of position for Trash. He's caught off to the side with just him and Azuki, and that's not really a fight that you want, it's just the support. Meanwhile, it looks like Avaki and Wolo grouping up, preparing to deal this big damage. If they can find Inepti, who they should have an idea of because of his heal, they don't have vision, but they do have a last known that seems to be correct. This might spell the end for the Quark, while Legion, as you mentioned, just respawned a few turns ago and is being forced to escape once again.
Inepti's just going to tether and hope he doesn't get destroyed as Legion escapes with a little bit of healing on them. Kochi's going to get a nice double hit with that basic attack, but the bubble from Avaki is going to return some damage. Safil's going to pile on the explosion on Safil, combined with the rockets for this turn, doing a big bit of damage, bringing them below 50% health. But Wololo's ultimate taking out Inepti and bringing Kochi really low with the Avaki piling on. That's 3 health on this Rampart. This ultimate has to come out.
Could have finished him off with a bounce shot, but they didn't know exactly how much health Inepti has, so they wanted to be sure. Kochi coming out with that ultimate, you gotta be careful. You're against a Lockwood who has that really powerful extra wide trap that could just spell the end. Now we're looking at Legion ult. With Grey ult available, Trash has to be a little bit more aware of just how the map looks, where Grey can see them. You don't want to get caught in that voltaic cage and take the big root damage.
That Voltaic Cage is one of the most mind game abilities in the game.
Oh.
As multiple teams dashing, not a lot of people moving around here. It looks like Kochi did go through the trap, does die. Great placement by Ivaki to predict this one. Legion's going to throw out the ultimate, catching just multiple members of the other team inside of it. But the big highlight there, the death coming out to bring 3-0 lead for Trash.
Yeah, they did get the shift out of Safil, so if Fun doesn't have vision on him now. They have the last known because, Rampart saw him, but that's got to be their target going forward. Safil with no catalyst to escape, going to be easier pickings than the rest of Team Trash. Even though Craner's still looking low, he's been doing a really good job of surviving, but it's only a matter of time, it feels.
And these healing buffs are still ticking away as Craner throws on a big shield. We'll get a little bit of damage from Rio as Dizzy piles on with more damage. Legion even more too, but he's doing retribution damage. The bounce from Ivaki can only target Dizzy, so Craner's going to pile on with the root since there is no dash available for Dizzy right now, only the catalyst. Whoa, a big double hit taking Legion down, and that's going to be a 4-0. The next kill from Trash ends this match.
Yeah, we're looking at Dizzy, a likely target, sitting no jump, still has a catalyst, but where do you even go? The back brush has been revealed. Trash is spread out enough that they have vision pretty much anywhere she could run to, so if Anepti can't get in a position to start healing Dizzy soon, that could really just spell the end for Trash as Rampart respawns. This is the problem with Rampart on Flyway. He's so far away, he has to spend at least a turn sprinting back into the battle.
Ivaki covering in much area as they can, but can't find Dizzy. Craner is going to do a little bit to Anepti, but Anepti is going to come back with the 22 out of 23 to bring Craner down to 1 health, but Craner's still alive and does have ultimate available. Safil trying to predict the dash from Dizzy, not going to get it as these teams crunch back together to see if they can score a kill.
Trash definitely has vision on Dizzy right now. They know exactly where he is and likely have the range to finish them off. I don't see Fun picking up 5 kills in one turn. It's actually impossible. And Craner likely surviving because of that all. Just 1 health last turn. That's so close to taking out the front line of Team Trash.
He's got to be regretting not taking that extra damage on Latch On now, as that would have definitely scored the kill. But Wololo getting the shield out from Safil just to make sure they don't lose a member in this one. Craner is going to dash out, goes farther than Anepti, and Anepti targeting Wololo anyways. Looks like the shot doesn't... Dizzy is not down yet. Will they be able to find any final damage on Dizzy as they heal? Wololo putting out some vision blocking smoke bombs. Rio coming in from the side to try and predict where the enemy team is. And the pull from Kochi will put the bubbled Wololo directly next to them. Does have dash to get out.
Yeah, so definitely still the target on Dizzy. We're seeing second round of ults starting to come up with Safil has his second ult of the game. Dizzy so very close, but definitely they're closing in on him. Anepti dashed to Wololo the previous turn, not on the healing. I think this is spelling the end for the end for Dizzy's life and the end of game 1.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they can survive with all these ultimates, balance shots, everything in the way. And I don't even think they can kill Wololo with this dash available. They would have to have some major prediction skills, and the spot Wololo is going to, nobody can hit. Dizzy's just trying to put down some final damage, gets a nice 32, pad those stats as Kochi tries to spin for a little bit more. The focus on Wololo, as predicted, will not hit. There's a Vaki bringing Dizzy's health to negative numbers. Safil's going to pile right on top of that. The ultimate for 30 to get the takedown. The final kill on Finn as it is a 5-0 victory. Turn 18, Team Trash.
Wow. They're really putting on a showing of why they're these season champions, these tournament champions, and why they're able to beat Final Boss. Trash putting on a show for us. Big damage numbers coming out, though. Dizzy, 471, did get the highest damage in the game, so nothing to be ashamed of there. Looking at Team Trash, though, just not anyone skyrocketing above the rest, but just so high consistent damage numbers from pretty much everyone on Trash.
Well, if you're going to have a Mighty Cork, you want it on a high damage champion, and that just shows, Dizzy did put up those big numbers. Mighty Cork was doing an excellent job of that, but unfortunately their plan fell apart when Anepti had to jump to another champion. Kochi was caught out with their team grouping too much, so couldn't shield from all sides as Trash surrounded them. And then Legion took the early kill and was immediately focused back down super low. They just weren't able to keep the game plan together, and grouping up so early let them take massive bits of damage.
Yeah, I definitely think that was their downfall, was how much they were grouped up against the draft that Trash brought through. I think my personal MVP is going to have to go to Craner on the front
I
line.
agree 100%.
398 damage, second highest in the match and second highest on his team, with 453 taken and no deaths. We saw him survive with 1 health that turn, but he was just constantly in the enemy's team face, being such a harassment, and that retribution damage consistently being applied, just showing why they value Asana so highly.
Not only that, but just the several turns where Craner had these dashes or these movements with 3 members of the opposing team targeted and tried to predict, and Craner always ended up in the spot where the other team didn't, the one spot the other team didn't cover, just wisely knowing, okay, they're all going to cover this and this, this and that, and just able to waste so much damage of the other team, tank the rest of it, do a lot themselves. Absolutely MVP.
Yeah, showing that experience that Trash has coming through big time. But that's only game 1. Fun has another shot at Trash. They've seen what they have to offer, wondering if they can come through with maybe a different team comp, maybe a different strategy for the fight. You know, hopefully seeing them not with repeating the same group up error that led to this big early advantage that Trash was able to take hold of.
They had a few very good turns in there where they healed up a lot. They had a lot of damage. If they can just manage to spread out a little bit and maybe change up the draft a little bit so they don't have these weaknesses to surrounding and to being grouped up, they might be able to pull out at least a really close game this time with just a few simple fixes.
Yeah. You know, I knew Fun, when they learned they were going up against Trash, was a little worried. And I hope that didn't get them on their nerves and have them off their game. I want to see everyone playing the best they can. And I think with a slight few adjustments, Fun still has a shot here. You know, they get game 2. And this also, remember, this is important, it's only week 1. These teams will have plenty of time to learn how to work together more, learn how to play against specific comps, and hopefully improve over the course of Season 2.
All right, the next match is up. And we are getting ready to draft.
Yep.
Pretty soon
Freelancer,
here.
United Nation versus Trash. Game 2. Trash taking a pretty handy game 1. 5-0.
Yeah, a pretty solid start there.
What you'd expect from the season champions. So hopefully our draft goes a little bit smoother this time around. And for the rest of the day, we had a couple technical difficulties, but I'm sure those will get sorted out at least by next week.
Yep, both of these teams are getting ready themselves, so looks like we will be pretty set to start this next match soon, and hopefully these teams can make the adjustments they need. And as mentioned, you have to get Trash off of these comfort picks. They live here, they breathe here. Get them to force into a composition they don't want, because it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't, yeah,
letting them have that team comp, the one that they've proven time and again is so strong in their hands. With Craner makes that Asana sing every time. Wola has such good buff control. It's just so hard to take them down with that comp, and Fun needs to take at least one of those 4. I don't know which one, but just not let them have at least one of those 4 and see if they can get them just a little bit less comfortable.
And that's the importance of a wide Freelancer pool, too. You got to work with your team to cover a wide area of the pool, so if you need to hate pick a champion simply so the other team doesn't get them, then you can, and you can play that Freelancer very well yourself. So expand those Freelancer pools, people. If you're playing in this season, or if you're expecting to play in the next one, that's what you need to do. So Trash, once again, with the Helio ban, no surprise there. They've said why. Fun banning out Lockwood immediately, and a good choice. In every game, he's been a superstar of damage.
For sure. And, we see Trash picking that Flyway Fighter, no surprise there, and Fun coming in with the Gray as their first pick. They obviously preferred the last time. It didn't work out so well. They did have 2 deaths, so maybe if they play a little bit safer, or just... Ooh...
They might have a different matchup, but this time they swapped that Asana right out for Rask. They're going to go for a Rask less comp. Trash, some nice picks early on, shaping up to be a strong team. hopefully Gray can control that damage with their darts and their weaken this time.
I mean, if you thought Craner was hard to kill on Asana, if he's the one with behind the wheel of Rask, it's gonna be quite the feat to take him out. And that's just one member you
We're
gotta
gonna
worry
see
about.
Fun taking their sweet time and does pick up that Finn, so takes that away from the opposing team. That's a big move because a Rask with a bubble on him he can dash anywhere, do a lot of damage. The traps won't hurt him. It's very scary. So they finally do take that away and get the Nyx pick out from the opposing team. Trash going Nyx directly into a Gray face-up, which is generally thought of as a bit of a hard matchup.
I guess Trash confident in their abilities to keep this Nyx safe, likely to be a Vaki there. And as you see, they, smartly, not even bothering. They see Fun picked up Finn. There's no point in us picking our support until last pick because, what are the chances they go double support? And now Gremolition's coming out. I don't like picking Gremolitions into... I'll get to that in a second. I don't like picking Gremolitions into Rask. I don't think he has the burst damage necessary, but Titus coming out. Oh boy. So Freelancer United Nation, they have my favorite pick. They're obviously going to win this match.
Yeah. I do like Gremolition picks sometimes, though. As soon as Rask dashes, now he has to be super careful because Gremolitions can push him directly away from the fight whenever his dash is down. So you have to be careful not to use it unless it's going to reset extremely quickly. And it's also a really strong pick against Quark, who you can separate the tether, and now you can push Rask out of position, you can push Quark out of position, break the tether. It's a really strong movement effect to have versus the opposing team. I like it a lot there. Not only that, the mines somewhat help against stealth champions. You can figure out where they are by if they happen to randomly run over a mine, whereas a lot of direct shot champions, you hit them, great, you know where they were. But now with effects that stay on the map, you can see where they're running through. So another counter to that Nyx that's coming out, as well as a good champion to use versus Rask and Quark. I like the pick there.
I'm not sure about him against Rask, just because the thing that you need to do against Rask is burst damage, and Gremo has his ult for burst damage, but his normal basic attacks don't do really that high against the health pool of Rask. And you mentioned Demolitions, though, does have a good chance of finding that Nyx. Same thing with Titus, that dirty fighting. If you think they're going to invis, just throw a dagger in their face.
I think that the goal here is going to be Avaki's just not even going to be close enough for them to apply a dagger, to apply these drones, to apply the darts or the mines. Hopefully there's a little bit of extra range on there. Might be a good mod. I'm sure Avaki knows better than me, but that's another way to deal with that, is just to get that extra range on Nyx, stay back far enough where revealing isn't an issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the thing. He's definitely the target going in for Fun, seeing as Nyx, no escape, and they have a healthy amount of displacement on the side of Fun. If they can get that catalyst off of Aki, the shift catalyst, he becomes a nice juicy target for them to punish the rest of the game. Problem's going to be finding him and making their way past the big Craner Rask mess that will be all up in their business.
And you're absolutely right as well. Even when they find Avaki, they don't have a lot of single target damage. They've got the spread out damage of Fizz. They've got the spread out damage from the two different members on Dizzy. They've got Titus, who can sometimes dash in, but isn't known for doing a huge chunk of burst damage from far away. So really it'll be down to that dagger. And Kochi's really the only one who has that strong single target, so they might not even be able to burst him down when they find him. Trash's standard plan, Nyx off to one side, 3 people on the other, and the group up strat that we've come to expect from Fun.
I don't like it. I mean, if Nyx can get a vortex around in there, Wool some smoke bombs, if Craner can get up in their face and they're still just grouped up, it's going to be a real early ult for the Rask. We're looking, once again, at least Fun knows not to run towards the Might. I'm interested to see, going forward, what Titus is bringing to the table for mods.
Standard first turn as Wololo grabs the buffs, and he'll be clearing the map of buffs all game, building energy as well when he grabs them. Sophia's just going to tether to Wololo this time, as the drone comes out for Rio, just hitting Craner. Inepti's going to spray down the tunnel in case of any special effects or dashes, but no, so we're into the next round.
And here's Craner already just sprinting up into their face. We do see Kochi has the hit invisible targets with his drone very good to bring against this team with how much, the invisibility of Nyx and the vision denial of Wolo, but now suddenly there's a big angry rage beast all up in your face. Dizzy's the only one not in this front line that's just going to start to take punishment.
And I think he's still in range of the hit from Cranor. We'll have to see the exact distance. Sophia's going to overcharge Wololol. Kochi's going to weaken Cranor and Wololol as well, so they won't do as much damage, but they're still going to do plenty versus a grouped up team. This AoE damage too much. The dash coming out from Legion, that'll bring the bubble directly to Wololol and slow their movement. Speaking of slows, Avaki shoots his Vortex round into 3 members of the opposing team. Kochi's going to do a direct shot into Cranor, building up his energy, and there is a 3-person hit from Cranor, though well weakened, not a lot. Still, most of the enemy team at half health. Wololol being taken down to about 2/3 himself, but a huge damage advantage right off the bat for Trash.
Yeah, and this turn it's going to be even harder for Fun to catch up on the damage. Avaki running that weakened Vortex round, so three members of Fun are now weakened, including their 2 firepower, so it's going to be tough for them to get that return. As a Nepti, from that slow, kind of caught out right in the middle, not in cover, not anywhere safe, and definitely going to be the target Trash is looking to take down as early as possible.
Turtle Tech coming out from Dizzy, trying to mitigate this early damage to Field, just trying to keep Wololol alive, so no dashes this turn. As Inepti throws a heal out, doing what they can while adding some shields with the Turtle Tech. That means Wololol's back to almost at full health. A nice shot from behind on Avaki, gets a beautiful hit. Cranor again right in the face with the double. A weakened Kochi won't do much, but Wololol's big double-mighted hit. Inepti, 48 damage. As Dizzy throws mines down in the center, just trying to catch out what they can, but they're actually keeping Wololol pretty high health for being in the center of the map.
Well, he does step over that weakened mine, so his might just ran out. So this is a weakened Wolo now, and we see Avaki, as we mentioned, not even gonna be close enough for them to start applying damage. He's just so far dealt 72, which is not a unworthy amount with 0 taken. Hasn't even been in their vision yet. For Fun, they have no idea where Nyx has been this entire time.
Since he can't get a direct shot, Avaki's going to throw out that trap and hope somebody crosses it. Here comes a dagger on Wololol. Since they expect the dash, they're going to say, I'm not even going to swing for you. We're just going to find out where you're going to go. As Wololol dashes through the enemy team behind Dizzy, we'll see if he splorts to... Nope. There goes the trap from Wololol, dealing just a bit more to Dizzy. But double mines come out on top of Sophia and Cranor. Kochi is trapped up. They're going to reposition Rio over to the center, not hitting anybody this time. So neither Cranor nor Sophia gets punished. And look at that. The trap was set out. The Cranor combos with the throw to put Dizzy down to 17 health. Is that?
I think it was 7 health. Yeah, even lower than we thought. So you mentioned Avaki doesn't have a straight shot, so he puts up the trap, and that teamwork for Trash coming through, putting him down to 8, going to be forced to escape most likely. Now Wololol still a little bit caught out, does have that dagger applied. This is now their chance. But Kochi and Inepti really forced to back off, already taken so much damage that they can't stay in this fight to start securing kills.
And now it is Trash that's grouped up with what, with most of the AoE skills spent for the other team. I don't know if they're going to be able to get a lot here. Maybe the explosion from Dizzy as Turtle Techs come out. We've got some healing on Wololol. It is the bounce from Dizzy to prevent their death. Going to try and jump through, but didn't get the health because Wololol shifted over onto the health. Cranor's going to do some damage to Legion despite the bubble returning damage and slows. Sophia's going to be leashed to Legion as well. Avaki taking the shot just to try and finish off Dizzy, who did dash out of the way. But great play by Wololol to just steal that health buff, even when he couldn't grab it, flashing onto it, making sure that Dizzy doesn't get it.
He wanted to make sure that Dizzy didn't get it. He wanted to also make sure he took as little damage as possible and didn't get that dagger pop from Legion. So wasted dirty fighting. Cranor sitting on that nice early turn 7 ult, and a lot of members of Trash. I mean, Wolo also just not far behind, already getting these early ults for the firepowers of Trash.
I also want to mention the mod on the dagger is Flurry of Daggers, so it would have had a reduced cooldown if somebody popped it, so really worth it to prevent that popping. Sophia's going to start healing Cranor as Cranor dashes through to the center of the map, trying to survive a few turns with the Sophia heal to get that ultimate back up and available. A shot from Kochi will miss, but Legion targets Quark directly, knows that the support is where you need to be. Wololol's going to put out some vision blocking. Nice connecting on those to make sure the enemy team doesn't know where he is. Kranos' ult goes off this turn, so we'll hit Dizzy and Inepti. The shot from Avaki also hitting both of them, so not quite killing Inepti, but going to bring Inepti down to 9 health this time. They did push Nyx back to the back of the fight, but he's got range. He's going to be able to hit.
They pushed Nyx back to the fight, and pretty much where he was going to go anyway, into that brush, and now Trash still has vision on all the remaining members of Fun, but Fun missing vision on the 2 firepowers. These 2 long-range firepowers, they have no idea where they are. That's risky. You don't know where they're going to be shooting at you from. With Safil now a little bit separated, that's really where Fun needs to be looking. Take out the Cork, not the people Cork's healing.
Now, Legion's been getting some good damage on Cork each turn, but they need a little more focus. Inepti's going to use his Catalyst to get to the fight, so Krano won't be able to take him down this turn. A drone does hit Avaki. They knew exactly where he was. Safil taking that big damage from Legion, but returning 22 of his own. Avaki actually trying to predict the flash out, but not able to get it. Krano trying to get the throw in case he stayed. Doesn't get that either, but they will follow up pretty closely, and this could be a hit if they guess correctly.
Yeah, we see Avaki disengaging a little bit. Does have that ult, so he doesn't need to be particularly close to the fight, and picks up the heal since he finally took some damage. And now Safil with that rushing radiate able to do some damage, and then I assume, we can't check, but going all the way down to the bottom of the map, make sure he's still tethered to 2 people this entire time, just punishing Legion for trying to be the one to take him out.
And that's what we've been talking about. He needs positioning next to an enemy, next to an ally, so it's hard to do, but Safil has been doing great work of it, keeping a lot of damage and a lot of healing as Kochi goes ahead and weakens the 2 close members of the enemy team. A dash onto Safil. They want to keep this damage up no matter what. Inepti's going to set that eel to bounce around, knowing that Safil has to stay in range of the eel bounce to get the healing off. Kochi's going to do cover damage to Safil, bringing him down to below 50 health. As Dissy's going to mine that health, making sure nobody walks over it. See if they can't get the enemy. A double pickup from Wololol. That'll bring out the ult, but Krano manages to find Finn in the cover. Will get the kill.
Does run over that mine. It takes a little bit extra damage in his weekend, but, you know, still more health than most firepowers start the game with. And now it's time for Kochi and Legion to realize that, oh, we're alone. We're pretty much alone in at least a 3v2. They don't know where Avaki is. Avaki has this great shot over Dizzy. Might think he's safe and doesn't know there's an invisible Nyx ready to punish him as soon as he's respawned.
The weekend coming out, they've been doing a good job. Actually have quite a good weekend composition to weaken the enemy team every turn. Kranor's going to dive over Dizzy. Kochi's going to jump out. Safil's going to jump out. So the ultimate just hits Wololo with a slow, who will go back behind cover even well slowed. The ultimate for 50 damage on Legion. A better trade there, although Kochi does live. Avaki shot piercing through Dizzy, going from full health to just over half. The mine's just trying to predict, but landing really in the middle of nowhere as the enemy going nowhere close to them.
Yeah, Dizzy just respawned, already in a really bad spot. It doesn't have his dash up for a turn, does have his flash catalyst if he really wants to escape. And meanwhile, up here, Legion has been working so hard to try and kill Safil, but just can't quite secure it and is getting so punished. But more importantly, I think, isn't supporting his team as the front line.
And that's going to be the question: is do they focus him with Kochi and or take the death? No, too many flashes to even count as people just jump out from all over. Avaki won't score a single hit as both members did catalyst out of that, and Wololol also missing. But Safil jumped out as well, and Legion tried to, I believe, root him where he was, but didn't get that.
It might have been a Feder, we don't know, but now Legion does have his dash available. Question is, does he go in and make sure he hurts somebody and has a low cooldown, or does he risk dashing out, putting it off cooldown, and essentially removing him from the fight for a turn? Well, off to the side, Craner has found Kochi once again. Not going to let him just walk away from this.
Yeah, they can. That's important to continue to apply damage. You can't just bring people low. It's the kill that counts. Safil trying to prevent that by putting their giant ultimate out. Just some major healing. A nice double shot by Avaki. He's been very good at getting these angles on and just hitting 2 people every turn, so Dizzy going extremely low. Here comes the ultimate over Wololol. They're going to be rooted in place, and Safil maybe as well if he gets pulled in. Vision blocking coming out. Extra damage on Legion and Inepti, but here comes the ultimate, the combo that Safil and his team used so famously in the dev match is going to be used against them, both being pulled through the trap and stuck out in the middle of the map.
Really great combo damage coming out on Safil and Wolol. Good targets to be focusing. They know Safil's flash is down. They know Safil's dash is down. That's definitely their target, but in the meanwhile, they can't just... Kochi just trying desperately to fight a Rask one-on-one when they're already low is not an easy proposition for Gray. And now, up here, we have Avaki and Dizzy having sort of a 1v1 firepower battle.
We'll see who comes out ahead in that as the bubble comes out to keep Kochi alive for what's probably another turn. And the trap from Nyx predicting a dash coming out of this one. Legion is going to dash into Safil. Wololo does get out of it themselves. Dizzy going to try and just mine off the path that Avaki's going to go through, see if they can get a little extra damage as Rio pounds Safil just a little harder, but still alive on this one. Kochi with the bubble and the shot will get a good trade on Kranor here as Safil tries desperately to leash to Legion, find any way to survive this one. The throw, though, keeping Kochi in a proper spot for Kranor to do maximum damage and away from the rest of the team. He really wants this 1v1.
We just see Dizzy doing a good job predicting where Avaki would move on that way to the health. Does find another mine and weakens him, but now he's sitting kind of in the open, only at 19 health. Isn't visible to Trash, so they don't have an exact location, and he might take this opportunity. Can they finally finish off Safil? And if so, will it be enough to snowball into more kills?
Once you take care of that support, the rest of the team does fall a little bit easier, so hopefully that is what they're looking for here, as Inepti can only heal Legion, try and prevent him from going down in an exchange. You never want to exchange with the team ahead. You always want to take the kills for free. Safil's going to go down to 0 health. Looks like they will not survive this turn. Wololo's going to predict that dash, do a little bit of damage on themselves. Kranor is going to explore all over Kochi, and with the swipe brings Kochi down to 1 health, but their bubble popping again will slow Kranor, and the extra damage brings Kranor pretty low himself. Here comes a big ultimate. Who's the targets? It's going to be Wololo and Safil. Safil going down. 46 damage on Wololo, bringing them down to just 42 health with no dashes and no escapes available. Wololo's set to almost go down this turn.
Yeah, not looking at any escapes, but I think a return kill could come onto Dizzy. Does have his dash available, and they definitely... Oh, they actually Trash still no vision of Dizzy. He's just out of sight for Wololo and Avaki. They don't know where he is. Meanwhile, as you mentioned down here, Kochi, I don't see him surviving another turn of this trying to hunt down Rask all by their lonesome.
The turtle tech comes out, and he may live through this one. We'll see. But the dagger coming out on Wololo, that'll guarantee almost any damage. Will secure the kill. Wololo throwing the trap in case they're being followed. Kochi taking 15 from the spray as Anapti tries to trigger the trap, and that's going to go down to 6 health on Wololo. If Dizzy decided to get the hit, then this is going to be a death. We'll see, but a return kill. Wololo double fist onto the enemy team, and Kranor in the corner stealing a kill as well. So while they will take down Wololo with this big boom, they are going to lose 2 kills in response and go to a 2-4 match.
Oh no. I see a big problem coming out here. Dizzy standing there in the open, no idea how close Avaki is, how much vision Avaki has on him. They only need to find that 1 more kill, and that's their only person Trash has eyes on right now. That's got to be their focusing. Meanwhile, Fun can only see Kranor, and I'll be surprised if Dizzy moves in that direction.
Great escape by Dizzy. He didn't know anybody could hit him, but he knew the ability was there. Chanced the fact that Nyx might put out a trap and instead said, I think he's going to shoot at me. Jumps directly over to the health to make sure he gets it before Kranor. But now Kranor has great vision on him, so while Dizzy's healing and in cover, the enemy team knows exactly where he is to focus him, if not this turn, in the future.
Yeah, but now the rest of Fun has respawned. They can see Kranor. He's looking a little bit low for Rask, but with Safil so close by, it's going to be even harder to take him down than it was when he was by himself. And Avaki just doing the best he can to stay out of the fight. He got a little bit too close for comfort to dying there, so I think he's going to play it a bit more safe for the remainder of the match.
Turtle Tech on Kranor is still available after that big 1v1 fight. Kranor will not go down this turn, and they're going to throw some damage over to the other side to try and hunt out Avaki to know where he is at all times. Very important, that site. Inepti is going to put some damage on Cranor, as is Dizzy, and they're just going to try and get this extra kill as soon as they can. But the throw keeps Dizzy in place, and with no escapes and the rest of the team rushing to surround him, I don't see this as something they can survive.
This is really just everything's closing in. Trash laser focused on killing Dizzy. Question is, can Fun take advantage of this focus and maybe pick off a target that, well, they're all trying to focus down one guy? Can Trash, through all the support that Dizzy has around him, get him dead before it starts to turn against them?
And Empty throws the shield out, so they're going to need a heck of a lot of focus, and maybe Titus can body block some of these shots with a dash. Nope, he's going off to the side, so Cranor gets the first hit. Legion's going to dash to Avahi, but not going to block any of the incoming damage on Dizzy. Shots go down on Safil just to go ahead and see if they're going to follow. Kochi mispredicting the dash on one side as Safil lashes down, and that's 36 damage. The double hit from Wololol finished him off, and then for good measure, the Vortex round comes in from the back, takes the kill, and that's a 5-2 victory for Trash.
Even if we'd seen the Titus body block mix there, it wasn't going to be enough.
Yeah, he would have had to block both Nyx and Safil, which would have had to be square perfect, and I don't think Titus could have stopped at that square.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a spot that was available for it.
So, Fun taking 2 kills. They did get on the board this time around. A stronger showing against Trash. Moving forward, I'm excited to see what Fun brings to the table. This was their first match competitive, and they had a pretty strong opponent first time going in, but Trash does take both games of the set. And once again, Cranor, so much damage. So much taken, no deaths.
Yeah. I do like the adjustments Fun made.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that they swapped it up. They said, okay, we can't give them that composition again, changed their own composition, and really had some decent changes in not only their mindset, their characters, a lot of things to really bring about those 2 extra kills, and was almost to a third and almost lived to that final turn with maybe a couple things different the turn before. So there's definitely a lot there that they can work with. I think that, and the weakened composition was working out pretty well to keep them alive quite so far. They definitely shown they have different styles they can play.
Yeah, dipping into that Freelancer pool, pulling out a Gremlins, pulling out that Titus, and moving forward, they can learn from this, and hopefully next time they go up against Trash, they can be prepared to take down the Kings. But that's going to be it. Set 1. Freelancer United Nation versus Trash goes 2-0 in Trash's favor.
You know them, you love them, and they're still undefeated.
Yeah, they will
Make some
remain
noise
that
for
way.
Trash out in that chat.
We're going to see if we can get someone from Trash. I'm not sure who they want to send down for a little bit of an interview. I can just ask them.
They always have a lot of good insight into this game. If you guys want to check out more, they've got articles. Tryon has contacted them. They've wrote articles about their favorite freelancers. There's a lot of guides up on Prep Phase League or the prepphase.com website. So if you guys want to find out more about getting into their head and how you play this way, then those are some good sources to check out some information. And they've definitely done interviews before you can go watch. As we're going to have another one up in not too long.
All right, looks like we're going to have Wolol joining us, that Celeste player from Team Trash. Going to be hopping down in a moment. Give us some insight.
And not only that, one of the highest players in the rank test as well.
Does have that,
as you mentioned,
Freelancer
that
Elo
special
icon.
emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He fought tooth and nail to earn it, and now he's the only one who will have earned it and who can ever earn it in the history of Atlas Reactor.
Which is quite some title.
Yeah. Just waiting to get him moved on down. But I definitely I feel Cranor really showing his strengths as a frontline player that set.
Yeah, there's only a few people who can really play frontline well. A lot of people gravitate to that firepower role. A lot of people think support's easier than it is, but we'll get to that another time. But that frontline role isn't just about doing damage and isn't just about avoiding or taking damage. It's also about hurting the enemy team. It's about figuring out where they'll go if you're here, and really having a complete mental control of the game to know where your team is, where the enemy team is, where you're got to force them to, because you're the one that they see. You're the biggest presence, not only to your team, but to the enemy team.
Yeah.
So definitely takes a lot of thought.
Yeah, it's not just right-click follow and let the game decide for you.
Yeah, you saw many turns that round. They weren't just following one target trying to do damage. They weren't acting like a firepower like a lot of front lines did. These were spots they picked where they thought the enemy would be, where they could hit multiple people. You couldn't just get flashed out of and be out of position for a turn. Very, very strong showing.
Yeah, no doubt. Trying to get the administrators to get us Wall.
Yep. Now, Trash, this is their only match today, I do believe, but they mostly play on Sundays, so you can look forward to seeing them more on Sundays. We will be seeing more of Fun a little bit later today versus another new team. So
Yep.
keep an eye out. If you enjoyed their performance and want to see them play more in the league, then you definitely have a chance to. Just stick with us throughout the day as we'll be getting more matches.
Yeah, no, Trash. Coming up next, Trash will be playing against another new team, Rude. That'll be on the YouTube channel. Here on
All
Twitch,
right.
we will see Love Bites versus Freelancer United Nations. So Fun gets another shot. They've went up against Trash. They did get defeated, but they probably learned a thing or two. Hopefully, they can bring that to bear against Love Bites and maybe take some games. And here we go. Hello, Wolol. Lol, 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 lol.
Hey, Pepper.
How's it going? How you feeling?
Good. My Celeste games weren't that on point, but worked out well.
Yeah, we named Craner MVP both matches. I think he deserved it that set.
Yeah, he had some really good moments and got away at like ridiculously low health values.
One
I think
health.
one health that
Yeah.
final turn.
Yeah.
So going up
So-
against Fun, these were players you probably hadn't played against. Where it looked like you were just doing the same old for Trash. Is that true? Did you?
Yeah, I feel like our basic ban picks and plays are just they haven't been beaten yet, so why change it?
A good strategy to go with. Now, I noticed that when you're on the map, there are never any buffs on the map anywhere. Is that just a factor of playing Celeste so much? Or is that a strategy that you guys have to control the buffs? How important are buffs to your game plan?
It's both sides. Like, obviously the health buffs are really important, and we try to control them as soon as they get up. But Celeste can just pick power-ups wherever she goes. Like, you saw me picking double energize while I had my ultimate up, like just to take them away, clear the map. I feel that's really important.
Do you ever steal
to
them from
control
other people
buffs.
on Trash and they get mad at you?
To be honest, I did that once without realizing. Even in the game against the devs, I did that to Avaki, and I felt sorry about it because I could have picked another buff.
That's all right. It seems to be working out well for you. So, game one, when you saw the enemy team had clumped up so tightly, was it your... how do you deal with a team that's clumped up so well? Do you just focus firepower into them, or do you spread out around them? What can people that are watching this do to really punish a team that clumps up like that?
If they really clump up, your frontliner will most likely be in a really good and bad position at the same time. Like, you will be able to do a lot of damage, but take a lot of damage. The problem most frontliners have is they stick in the enemy team, but don't use their dashes to avoid damage. Like, if you use your dash to avoid the attack of 4 people, you're basically buying your team a turn, which is really good. You should always do that. Like, just use your catalyst to avoid 4 attacks on you. Then your whole team can shoot, and the enemy team just wastes all their attacks on you, and you're not there anymore. Even if you're on full health, that's still a valid play. If people clump up, if you have some of the good freelancers, you always have AoEs to really punish them for that, like smoke bombs, spray and pray from Lockwood. The frontliners Asana and Res can hit multiple people if they clump up. Yeah, just spread that damage, and if somebody gets low and wastes his dashes, kill him.
Sounds good.
All right, so going up against Rude next. Do you have anything you want to say about that matchup? Anything you want to say to Rude if they're watching?
I hope for some good games. Like, we're waiting for some real competition here.
Oof.
Come
All
on,
right.
guys.
I'm sure you get some. There have been some. I don't know if you watched yesterday and watching further today. There are some teams coming up that I think you'll get quite a challenge out of. So excited for the rest of this season.
All
Me
right.
too.
Thanks for joining us, Wally.
No problem. See you around.
See you. All right, and there he goes. That was Wololol from Team Trash. So moving into the next